David Wilson stood in the middle of Central Park at midnight, trembling as he held a crumpled piece of paper covered in strange symbols and drawings. Tears ran down his face. "This is it. This is the secret that changes everything," he whispered. Just 3 hours ago, he had been the dumbest kid at Manhattan Prep Academy, failing every test. But now, because of what a homeless 11-year-old boy had shown him in an abandoned subway tunnel, David finally understood. The paper wasn't just drawings. It was a map showing him how to connect everything he learned into one big picture. And Elijah, the boy who taught him, was supposed to be nobody. No home, no parents, no money, living in shadows. Yet Elijah knew what all David's tutors, schools, and money could never teach him. David looked at the stars, his heart pounding. Tomorrow was the biggest test of his life, the one that would determine whether his father would ever be proud. He had failed it twice. But now, maybe he could finally prove he wasn't stupid. Maybe he could finally be worth something. But a problem loomed, one he didn't yet know. In 12 hours, it would explode, changing everything. 6 months earlier, on the worst day of his life, David sat in his father's towering office at Wilson Tower, the city sparkling below like a sea of lights. Richard Wilson, billionaire, towering presence, held David's report card like garbage. David, do you know how much I pay for your school? $50,000 a year. And this is what I get. FS. David's throat tightened. He wanted to explain, to tell his father he tried, that words in textbooks jumped around, that he couldn't learn like other kids. But his father believed everything could be fixed with money and effort. "I'm sorry, Dad," David whispered. "Sorry doesn't build companies. Sorry is what weak people say when they give up." Richard Wilson continued, cold and quiet. "Starting tomorrow, everything changes. Your car, phone, credit cards gone. Manhattan Prep gone. Lincoln High, city bus, cafeteria food. For months. Pass every class or you get nothing from my will. Understand me?" David whispered, "Yes, sir," his world crumbling. That morning at a city bus stop, David wore thrift store clothes, rain-soaked hair. People whispered, "Recognize him. Isn't that David Wilson, the billionaire's son?" David's face burned with shame. First day at Lincoln High was worse than imagined. History, math, English. He failed everything. Lunch alone. Old friends ignored him. Homework confusing. Bed. Repeat. The isolation and pressure suffocated him. Then one Friday night, after missing the bus, he walked in the rain and saw a boy huddled in a doorway, reading by a flickering lamp. "Are you okay?" David asked. The boy looked up, eyes sharp. That's a weird question. Nobody asks homeless kids if they're okay. David recognized the truth in his own shame. "You're not stupid," the boy said. "You're just looking at the world wrong." "My name is Elijah," the boy said. "I can show you real learning. Once you see the world this way, you can't unsee it." David hesitated, thinking about failure, shame, his father's disappointment. "Okay," he said. Elijah smiled. "Follow me." They walked through rain to an abandoned subway tunnel. Elijah's camp was lit by candles, walls covered in papers, drawings, charts connecting math, history, science, literature, everything. "This is my school," Elijah said. He explained his father's story. An engineer reporting company wrongdoing, imprisoned, family destroyed. Elijah survived alone, studying in peace, learning everything. "You remind me of my dad," he told David. "Your brain is different. That's special. I'll show you how to use it." David's first lesson, everything is connected. A falling apple linked to gravity, Newton, Europe, trade routes, astronomy, math, biology, chemistry, physics. Everything a story. Suddenly, his foggy mind cleared. Math, history, science, it all made sense. Over the next weeks, David brought homework to the tunnel. Problems that once hurt his brain now revealed patterns, causes, and connections. His grades began to climb. C in history, B- in math, B in English, B+ in science. Teachers noticed. Mr. Rodriguez praised his essay connecting economics, psychology, military strategy. David's secret was Elijah. David made friends. Emma, who liked it for him. not wealth. For the first time, he laughed. For the first time, he felt normal. 3 weeks in, his father called him. AB average in record time. Richard Wilson, proud, hugged him, tears in his eyes. I was wrong about you. You just needed your way of learning. David ran to tell Elijah, but the tunnel was destroyed. Papers ripped, candles knocked over, books trampled. Elijah was gone. On the ground, a note. Social workers found him. Remember everything I taught you. Use it to find the truth about my dad. David clutched it, tears streaming. He noticed some papers arranged to form an arrow pointing to a crack in the wall. Inside, an old newspaper article. James Carter, Elijah's father, arrested for fraud at Wilson Industries 7 years ago. David realized the company his father ran destroyed Elijah's family. David's hand shook as he read that James Carter had tried to report toxic waste dumping, had been framed, sent to prison. His father's company, his father, was responsible. Yet David forced himself to see clearly, the way Elijah taught him. If James was innocent, David had to act. He had to find the truth and help Elijah. Clutching the article, he whispered, I'll find the truth, Elijah. I promise. Then I'll find you. He walked home, rain unnoticed, mind racing. His father's office, his father's files. He would start there. Tonight, he would break in. He would uncover everything. That night, David waited until 2 a.m. The mansion was silent. His father asleep, security outside. Every creak of the floor made his heart jump. He thought of Elijah, cold, alone, his father in prison, his mother dead. That thought kept him moving. The office door was locked, but David had watched his father enter codes hundreds of times. He studied the keypad. Numbers 3, 7, 1, 5 were worn. He tried combinations. 3715, 5731, 1573 wrong. Then he remembered his father's lucky number, the one he always used, 17. He typed 1717. Click. Door unlocked. David slipped in, closing it quietly behind him. Using the tablet flashlight, he searched. Drawers locked, but under the desk, taped, was a small silver key. He opened a bottom drawer. Folders, mostly boring. Taxes, property, until he found one red folder labeled Carter sealed. Inside, lab reports, emails, photographs, legal documents. David's stomach turned. The documents proved James Carter had been telling the truth. Wilson Industries had dumped toxic chemicals, dead fish, cancer in the nearby town. Emails between Robert Harrison, CFO, and the engineers showed bribes to lie in court. $50,000 each, new jobs, instructions on what to say. David felt sick. His father's company had sent an innocent man to prison. Then he found an email from Harrison to Richard Wilson 2 weeks after Carter was imprisoned. The case was solved. The engineers relocated, documents destroyed. Richard's reply, good work, case closed. David's hand shook. His father knew. He did nothing. Suddenly, a voice. What are you doing? David spun. His father stood in the doorway, bathrobe, face pale. Dad, I know about James Carter. The company, the fraud, the lies. You knew and you did nothing. Richard froze. I didn't know at first. Harrison handled it. I believed him. David waved the printed email. Harrison told you everything. You paid people to lie. Innocent man in prison. You did nothing. Richard slumped into the desk chair, shoulders shaking. You're right. I was too scared. Terrified of lawsuits, losing the company, even prison. I told myself it was handled. I told myself to move on. I stopped asking questions because I was afraid of the answers. For the first time, David saw his father broken. The boy who taught you, Elijah, he's James Carter's son, isn't he? Richard asked quietly. David nodded. 11 years old, alone, homeless because of Richard's company. The smartest, kindest kid. He saved me. Richard covered his face, crying, I'm so sorry. I didn't see. David spoke calmly, resolute. We can't change the past, but we can change what happens next. Help me free James Carter. Help me find Elijah. Make this right. His father looked up, tears in his eyes. Slowly, he nodded. Okay, tell me what you need. David outlined the plan. Find the 3 engineers, gather proof, hire lawyers, bring James Carter home and locate Elijah. Richard, humbled and ashamed, agreed. We'll be brave together. That night, father and son copied documents, built a case, plotted next steps. As dawn broke, David felt hope for the first time in months. He would fight for Elijah, for justice, for truth. It wouldn't be easy. It could take months, years. It could cost Richard his company, reputation, even freedom. But it was the right thing to do. David, once failing at everything, now had the clarity Elijah had given him. Over the next days, they tracked the engineers. Each was reluctant, hiding across states. Some lied at first. Some hesitated. David, using Elijah's way of seeing, connected details, patterns in schedules, travel, communications. Slowly, truth surfaced. Testimonies confirmed James Carter's innocence. Legal experts prepared motions for his release. Meanwhile, David sought Elijah. Social services had relocated him. But David and his father contacted every foster agency, nonprofit, and volunteer network. They left no stone unturned. David thought of Elijah's smile, his resilience, and the lessons that had changed his life. He refused to give up. In the legal arena, Richard publicly acknowledged Wilson Industries' role in Carter's wrongful imprisonment. Private settlements were arranged for affected townspeople. Media attention grew, but David and his father handled it with integrity. For the first time, Richard understood that leadership wasn't just profit. It was responsibility. David, once ashamed, now inspired. His grades, once failing, remained strong. His friendship with Emma deepened. His life had transformed because one homeless boy had taught him the truth about learning and courage. But more importantly, he had learned the truth about humanity, about doing what's right, even when it's hard. Finally, after weeks of persistence, James Carter was released. Father and son reunited. Tears, hugs, apologies. Elijah, once lost, was located in supportive foster placement, enrolled in a real school, his brilliance no longer hidden in shadows. David looked at Elijah, smiling. We found you. Elijah, cautious but hopeful, grinned. I knew you would. Richard Wilson knelt beside them. I was wrong. I see that now. Thank you for showing me. David held Elijah's hand. We only succeed when we stand for each other, he said. That's what real friendship and courage mean. The journey wasn't over. Healing, justice, and rebuilding would take time. But for the first time, David knew the truth. The world changes when people see clearly, when they connect the dots, and when they act. And it all started with a boy who had nothing, yet gave everything to teach the world to see. David Wilson had learned the greatest lesson of all. Seeing clearly is more powerful than wealth, intelligence, or power. It is the key to changing lives and changing the world.